Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Wristwatch production. My name is Brandon, and this is my review of Legend of Korra, Book 4, Episode 10, Operation Bei Fong. Finally, we get what I've been waiting for. Finally we get the action, the climax that I have been waiting for in this season. This season's felt a bit slow. It felt like it's been taking a while to get going, but it feels like this is the first episode of what is going to be a chain of episodes that'll be paying off by the end of it. And we only have 3 episodes left. And only 2 more weeks of this. Next week is episode 11, and then the week after that will be episodes 12 and 13 back to back. So, for the plot of this episode, we have Lin Bei Fong, Opal, and Bolin heading out to save Opal's family, minus herself and Batar Jr., from Kuvira. And Toph decides to join in the fun because her daughter's in danger. And Toph was a nice dynamic that I enjoyed. I enjoyed her interaction with Lin. I enjoyed her and Lin finally getting everything out in the open and everything like that, and it really shows what kind of person Toph is. That Toph is sort of a very hands-off type of person, and it's very clear that, she is that way because her parents were so hands-on, so she decided to take the hands-off approach, and, look where her kids ended up, and Suyin clearly ended up as the better of the two, whereas Lin still has a huge amount of emotional baggage going on. And we find out the name of Lin's dad, Kanto. Nice man. Didn't work out though. Anyway, so this group of 4 goes in and they save Suyin and the group from an underground prison, while we find Zhu Li is sabotaging Kuvira's train cannon, which is literally one the Nazis had, and I can't remember what it was called, but it was a railgun that the Nazis had that moved along via train tracks. So, if you wanted any more question as to how this whole Great Uniter business is not just the Avatar version of Nazism, look no further. It's right there. We have the Bei Fongs. They go in, they save Suyin. They pull her out. Zhu Li has been sabotaging the cannon and is about to be killed by it. Bolin and Opal go save Zhu Li, and Suyin attempts to kill Kuvira. And we get what is quite possibly one of the best fights in the Avatar series, period. Yeah, that's right. I'm putting it up there with any fights from Avatar: The Last Airbender, with any fights from Legend of Korra up until this point. I'm saying this is one of the best fights because we have never seen just a straight metal bending fight, and man, was it cool. Just how Suyin was all about practicality, using her environment, doing whatever possible. Kuvira was all about waiting patiently, striking with intent. I think it was a really cool fight to watch, and we see Kuvira eventually gets the best of them, and then right as these troops are surrounding Suyin and her family and her group and everything, like, Toph steps in and fucks everything up, and Kuvira just doesn't even bother. And that is that moment that I've seen before. You've seen it before in shows where you've seen the guy who's really powerful steps in and the villain's like, all right, I'll let you go for now because he's too fucking good, right? And we see that moment with Kuvira and Toph, where Toph just straight up calls Kuvira out and backs off. And even though Toph could have probably killed Kuvira, probably could have taken down everything, she decides, we're just gonna fuck off. It's not my problem anymore. I'm not gonna deal with any of it. And Toph makes a very interesting comment where she says, now I understand what Katara meant during that Civil War business when she said she just had to leave it to you kids. This kind of means that Toph and Katara talk on the side, they visit on the side and everything like that. They've been speaking to each other as old friends tend to do, I would imagine. And it also shows that, I assume Book 2 is being referenced here with the Water Tribe Civil War. So that makes me wonder, if Toph is this powerful of an earthbender, how powerful is Katara really? We only ever see her do healing and helping with Korra's rehabilitation and stuff like that. But how powerful is she of a bender really? I mean, we've seen at this point, Toph was lava bending. Well, okay, that's a bit of a stretch, but I mean, those scenes back in the swamp where she had her kettle over a fire, it looked like it was over lava. I don't know if that's for sure, but if that's the case, then, that means Toph is a 100% master earthbender. So how skilled is Katara as a waterbender? Because by the end of Avatar The Last Airbender, Katara was practically a master at that point as it was. I mean, she had learned every single known waterbending style. That included bloodbending, something only one other waterbender knew, because that waterbender had in fact created it. So I thought that was a really interesting, like, just from like an overall like lore and like position of the world standpoint and everything like that. But as for plot relevance, it obviously doesn't really matter much, but it does kind of say why like Katara didn't get involved in the Civil War, which is something that obviously Katara seemed like the type of person she would get into. So that's an interesting thing. I thought that was pretty interesting how these characters who are like, yeah, we're super powerful, so we just kind of sit it out because it's not our problem anymore. We already saved the world once. I thought that was kind of an interesting point made by Toph, and it seems like that was a mentality that only Toph would have, but clearly she's not the only one that has it. So anyway, the Bei Fongs manage to get away. They go back to Republic City. Opal and Bolin make up, and everyone is happy again. Now, we also know that Kuvira's cannon works, and that Kuvira's cannon is capable of punching holes through mountains and consumes a lot of spirit vines. And Toph's presence here also explains why Toph wasn't in the swamp, basically trying to get Kuvira to fuck off from the Banyan Grove tree. Now, as far as Republic City, so there's a couple things going on in Republic City. Asami and Varric are ordered by the president to work on basically a spirit vine nuke. Something that which Varric and Asami vehemently protest, although they did make flying suits. So that was pretty cool. Korra attempts to talk to the spirits in the spirit wilds around Republic City, and it doesn't work because the spirits go, this is a human war. This is not our war. And she goes, oh, well, what about Unalaq? You guys were so willing to help Unalaq. And the spirit's like, Unalaq was fucking mind controlling us. Like, we didn't want to do that. We were totally content to mind our own business. And Korra is trying to sort of persuade them by using the whole, we live together, we coexist together now. If we're expected to coexist, we have to fight with each other. And he is basically saying, no, you just want to use this as a weapon. And I can understand the spirit's mentality. I 100% I truly can. And, other than that, there's not much to say on that front. The spirits have made it clear that they're not going to help. And Kuvira has made it clear that she is going to be attacking Republic City next. So things are looking interesting. The next episode, we're going to see a clash. And I have a feeling we're going to be seeing that clash for the next 3 episodes. Because it's a series finale, folks. We're going to be seeing the big finish. We also had a moment from Wu where he suggested maybe we should try and evacuate all of the non-important people out of the city to get them out of harm's way, try and get them away from Republic City so that way they don't get hurt because they don't need to get hurt. It would be unnecessary casualties. And everyone was like, good job for you, Wu. And Wu's like, yeah, I'm just trying to get into Korra's pants. And it's like, oh, of course you are, Wu. You just gotta go and ruin it, don't you? In fact, Mako straight up says that. So a lot of the stuff in this episode that we see is preparation. We got a really badass action scene, but now it's just prep. And we also see Zhu Li escaping with the Bei Fong family and Bolin. So we know that Zhu Li was sabotaging, or in her best attempts trying to sabotage the cannon. Maybe not her total best attempts, but she was doing whatever she could to delay the process. So that was good to see. And yeah, that's about it. I think there was only one moment that bothered me in the episode, and it was when Bolin thought of a legitimate plan and said, oh, now my head hurts, implying too much thinking. And it also didn't help that the Bei Fongs constantly were hating on Bolin, and that really pissed me off because what's the reason for that? Why does Lin hate Bolin so much? You know what I mean? Lin, who fought by Bolin's side multiple times on multiple different occasions throughout the series, and she just hates on Bolin for what conceivable fucking reason? Toph I get, and Opal as well. Granted, I understand they're pointing out like how much of an idiot Bolin was for not noticing all of the shit that was going on with Kuvira, and rightly so. But I don't know, it just felt like there was a little bit too much Bolin hate coming from that side of the camp. But then it doesn't help when Bolin spends 90% of the time this episode self-deprecating himself. So, I don't really know what to say on that, other than it kind of bummed me out that there was so much vicious Bolin just grossness going around. And I don't mean Bolin himself is gross, but I just mean a lot of the stuff surrounding him. There was a lot of anger towards him and everything like that. And again, there's good reason behind it. Maybe, maybe not, but we'll see. I think this episode is finally time to bring about the big problem that I have with Kuvira as well. So sorry if this review goes a little bit longer than usual, but it's the way I feel it has to be. And I think there's a weird thing with Kuvira in that she's not a bad villain. You know, I fully understand what type of person Kuvira is. She believes that she can do some good in the world, she can bring peace, solve the chaos and everything like that. And yet somewhere along the line, she got power hungry and decided, in order to do this, I'm going to have absolute control. But the question is, at what point did she go from being Kuvira who wants to place order in the world to Kuvira who now has labor camps, re-education camps, giant spirit cannons, attempted to build spirit nukes, you know, that kind of thing. And I think it's intriguing because I feel like this series has a theme of power corrupting ideals. And hear me out on this one. Amon, for example, was an incredibly powerful bloodbender. Arguably, could be said that he was more powerful than his father. In fact, probably the most powerful bloodbender we see in the entire series, considering his ability to cut off other people's bendings. Amon, who is a character who still, we're essentially at the end of book 4, and no motivation has been revealed for what Amon did back in Republic City. Still no clear understanding as to why. But Amon somehow managed to manipulate a group of people, take control, and try and use that power to whatever ends. Nobody is ever sure. But it's clear that whatever his original plan was in life, or whatever his original ideals may have been, his power and his abilities corrupted him. You then have Unalaq, who was a megalomaniac. All he ever wanted was power. You know, Unalaq's not a very confusing character, but all he ever wanted was power, which led him to merging with Vaatu, which led to his own eventual destruction when Vaatu totally overcame and corrupted his body, and he ended up being destroyed by a combination of Spirit, Korra, and Jinora, which is an ending that I don't think any of us will ever understand. And then you have Zahir, who originally wanted to use the Avatar to help them bring about peace to the world, even though their peace ended up in chaos and anarchy. And I know some people have an issue with the way they portrayed anarchy, but it's essentially what was anarchy to begin with, so no debates there. But at the end of it, he decided that he was just going to kill world leaders himself, depose powers, and eventually kill the Avatar himself. Even his newfound power, his airbending power, despite the fact that he provided himself to be a bit of a mentor towards Korra for, you know, the past chunk of for the past episode, still to some degree, power corrupted him. And now I think we look at this, and I think we have a case of Kuvira. Power has corrupted her. She is essentially one of the best metal benders in the entire world, with an incredibly powerful force of metal benders at her disposal, and she has a lot going for her. And I think there's a lot to be said on that front. But I think we have a case of somewhere along the line, Kuvira got corrupted by her power and decided to strictly deal within absolutes. Either you're for or against her, and that's the end of it. And if you're against her, she either kills you or sends you to a re-education camp. Plain and simple. So I think there's a theme in this series of power and what it can do to people. And I feel like that's a very strong theme throughout Legend of Korra that I've just noticed recently. And sure, maybe I'm talking out of my ass. I wouldn't be surprised if I was. But it's just a thought. All in all, I'm super excited. Next week we have episode 11, and then the week after that we have the series finale. So let's hope for a good one. All right, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.